Good afternoon. This is Sam on the Sam Sports Report. Today's date is January 13th after a Sunday playoff game. The Broncos and Bills squared off. First, quickly, the Broncos would get on the board to make it 7-0, and the Bills would add a field goal to make it 7-3. A 10-7 game after a touchdown scored by Buffalo. And a field goal added by Buffalo, 13-7. And by that time, it was getting rocky and getting rockier. It was 21-7 at the end of the third quarter. And two plays and a big play by Ty Johnson put him in to make it 24-7 in a Curtis Samuel pass touchdown by the Bills, which was a big play of over 24 yards, and the Curtis Samuel play was over 55 yards to make it 28-7, 21-7, 31-7 was the final in the Bears and Broncos game. The Eagles and Packers met up. The Packers messed up on the kick with a fumble, but it looked like the Packers had recovered, but that's not a big deal of what we're talking about today. It was an underrated story of what happened in the Eagles-Packers game. And that Packers mistake would be a big one. Eagles would take the ball down to the Packers side of the field and got a touchdown. After that, 3 punts in a row, Eagles would add a field goal. Nobody would score again in the half. It was 10-0 Eagles. Punt by the Eagles. A field goal by the Packers to make it 10-3. A touchdown by the Eagles to make it 16-3, but the Packers would respond to make it 6. But the Packers never got any closer. 3 picks for Jordan Love was big. Kick return was big. And it was all too much for the Packers to overcome in a pretty big blowout, 22-10. The Buccaneers Commanders was the best game of the day. It was a field goal to start the game. For the Buccaneers, a turnover on downs was followed up by a missed field goal by the Commanders. The rest of the first quarter was scoreless. In the second quarter, there was a touchdown for the Commanders on a 17-play drive, a field goal to make it 10-3. And Mike Evans' touchdown led it up to 10-10. A field goal to put them up, Commanders up 13-10. So at the half, it was tied at 10. The field goal was added 13-10. Touchdown 17-13. Turnover on, but a Buccaneers touchdown gave the Buccaneers a lead, and the Commanders would turn over the ball again. The Buccaneers would quickly turn that around right back and set up a touchdown for the Commanders and converted a 4th and 2, a field goal. And then for the final drive, a doink, divisional playoffs. Here's how it sounded. The Commanders take it.
From 37 to send Washington to the Final 8. The Washington Commanders off the upright, and it is in! They doink their way to the divisional round! Unbelievable!
I have seen it all now. I even get a divisional doink. I feel like every time I see a game-winning field goal, it's hitting an upright.
Rams and Vikings play tonight after the wildfires. They're scheduled to play in L.A. The Rams are no longer have a big home field advantage. Tickets will be cheaper. Playoff game. Players to watch out for: Matt Stafford, running back Kyron Williams, who has 1,299 yards, with 5 games being over 100. 3 out of the last 5 games. Wide receiver Puka Nacua is a player to watch out for. Defense, Brad Finisky for the Vikings. It'll be Sam Darnold, even though Darnold has most successful season of the Vikings, he may never win a Super Bowl, and time will be telling. This game might be a game breaker for Darnold, and if they go to J.J. McCarthy. Running back James Cook, who has over 1,100 yards. Wide receiver Justin Jefferson. Defensive player Jonathan Greenyard and Andrew Fickle. Rams keys to the game. Have to answer for pressure, looks like from Vikings defense. be efficient in the run game, create takeaways while protecting the football. Sam Darnold's not needing to make any big mistakes. How does James Cook do in the rushing? Get the ball to Justin Jefferson. 4. Get the pressure on Matthew Stafford. Kick is at 8. Raiders head coaching candidates. Remember, I'm hiring the coach. This may not be the candidates that they have. Ben Johnson going for the Lions, offensive coordinator going to the Bears. Aaron Glenn, Detroit Lions defensive coordinator. He declined a job already, so I don't know if they have him going to the Raiders. Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator Steve Spagnola will be on my list. You'll see here in a minute. Baltimore Ravens coordinator Todd Monken, I already have him going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Robert Slay and former Seahawk Pete Carroll. For Jacksonville, I believe Jacksonville's a better job than the Raiders, so I have Todd Monken going to the Jacksonville. Shad Khan, even though I don't think he's a great owner, I think he's better than Mark Davis, who keeps just recycling coaches. He might not be committed to Jacksonville Khan, but that's 20 hours down the road, and most likely this coach won't be coaching by then. And he'll be 94 years old, so he probably won't be owning the Jacksonville Jaguars. He may be dead, I don't know. Ben Johnson, I have to be honest with you, that's who I gave the Bears, but if Bears get a veteran coach, then I may be having to do a article, and that may come tomorrow if the Bears don't hire a coach sooner. Ben Johnson, I said, is going to the Bears, so I have Pete Carroll as one of the guys on my list. Pete Carroll's not a great hire, but because it's not a terrible hire, and a lot of these guys are a terrible hire, I do have him on my list. Deion Sanders, he's a jerk. He's not on my list. Typical Raider guy, though. I could see the Raiders hiring him, but I don't think he'd be the right guy. So with my coaches being hired, how about Mike McCarthy as one of them? Spagnola is one of my guys, and Robert Slay was mentioned on the candidates. No way. Matt Nagy is who I'd actually hire for the Raiders. He was over 500 with a terrible quarterback in Mitch Trubisky. Sorry, Kevin. Texans coordinator after Saturday, I am completing hiring Bobby Slowik. Hasn't been interviewed yet, but both these guys are on my interview jobs. He would be number 2 on my list after Matt Nagy. Mike McCarthy would be a good guy. The candidate for the Raiders, so I think they needed to get a guy that would fix the quarterback, much like Matt Nagy and Bobby Slowik. And Mike McCarthy was the third guy. Ron Rivera, he led the team to a Super Bowl. I don't think he would be a bad hire. I would look into that. Spagnola love what he's been doing with the Chiefs, and he's not a an offensive guy. But if I'm not hiring these 4 candidates, I'm going with Steve Spagnola. Pete Carroll, I guess he's older, and if he can replace one of them, maybe. And Joe Brady, if he doesn't go to the Jets, and Ben Johnson, if he doesn't go to the Bears. Also interviewing for my job. I do believe the Bears is a bad job, though. I just still have Ben Johnson going to the Bears. That's Sam on Sports.